Dominic Cummings is to leave his role as the Prime Minister's chief advisor by the end of the year. Not unlike journalists, advisors should never become the news, should never become the story. Dominic Cummings became the story when he elected to break the lockdown rules that the government he is the key advisor to had introduced to the rest of the country. I'm going to stick an allegedly in there because there is still a sort of narrative out there that he did nothing wrong. A narrative inflated and promoted by people like Matt Hancock and Rishi Sunak, and in fact every single sycophant in the current cabinet who essentially sold what was left of their soul when they decided to fall into line behind the ludicrous notion that somebody would drive 60 miles in breach of lockdown regulations in order to test their eyesight. And that, of course, completely overlooks the 260-mile trip to Durham with your infected wife and young child in the back of the car, again in direct contravention of the guidance at the time, and something that was done because that's what all fathers would do, according to people like Matt Hancock at the time. Which made me wonder, you may remember, what would have happened if all fathers had done that? I had it, my kids had it, my wife probably had it. What if everybody who had it got driven around the country by a family member? Yeah. That's what I mean about the complete contempt. So 2016, massive lie plus weaponised xenophobia. Getting into bed with Nigel Farage's toxic agenda while pretending to hold his nose. 2019, massive lie plus treating the British people with complete contempt, pretending that oven-ready Brexit meant something. It's so obvious. This is the bit I don't get. I can normally thread the needle, right? But this is the bit where I can't. You know when you have to you've licked it so many times it's gone soggy and you're trying to stick it through the little hole in the top of the needle and you just can't. Why are you looking at me like that? All gentlemen should be able to undertake minor sewing repairs. I learned that at public school. The point is that's the bit I don't get. When the Internal Markets Bill came in and they essentially stood in front of you and said, that thing we told you was an oven-ready deal is so inadequate and inappropriate, we're going to have to pass some legislation that allows us to actually break it. That was the point where, had I not been battered by experience into complete submission, that would be the point where I thought pennies would have dropped and everybody would have woken up. So you just voted for an oven-ready deal, and within months of the oven-ready deal being passed in Parliament, Parliament was told they had to pass legislation that allowed them to undo the oven-ready deal, break international law in order to step away from the responsibilities of the thing you voted for in December as an oven-ready deal. And that is just so symmetrical. That is such a succession of logical observation that the point at which you stay on board is the point at which you surrender reality and you subscribe instead to alternative facts. And of course, the inventors of alternative facts, Kellyanne Conway, Donald Trump, Steve Bannon, they've all been consigned to the dustbin of political history while we're stuck with this. We're stuck with what Dominic Cummings has done for generations. We're stuck with what Dominic Cummings has done for generations. He gets to walk away. I don't know how it works, whether he goes to work for his father-in-law at the big stately home, or whether he gets on a speaking tour, or whether he just lives off his wife's earnings as an employee of the Barclay brothers. I don't know how it works. But he gets to walk away. And we're stuck with what he's done for generations. Your kids want to study in Paris? Tough. It's all down to Dominic. That's not fair. It's down to Nigel as well.